Now, former Culture Secretary Nadine Dorries has written a very thought-provoking piece on abortion for the Daily Mail, a very much nuanced piece, something that's missing from the public debate. Now, there is going to be a House of Commons bill looking at decriminalising abortion past 24 weeks. She wrote of her own experience as a nurse helping with terminations of unwanted babies. And the following passage I'm going to read is a bit graphic, so viewer discretion is advised. She writes, on delivering a unwanted 27-week-old baby boy, she wrote, I have never forgotten what I saw. There lay a tiny baby boy, blinking, covered in mucus, blood and amniotic fluid, gasping for breath, his little arms and legs twitching. I was stunned. He was breathing, I insisted. The nurse looked embarrassed and muttered, the mother probably got her dates wrong. Maybe she was more than 27 weeks pregnant. I can't bring myself to tell you how she disposed of the body of that tiny newborn. Now, it must be pointed out here, Nadine is pro-choice. Unlike the majority of people who are pro-choice, she's against late-term abortion. Many polls show us that the majority of people are against second and third-term abortions, but that nuance is rarely reflected in the public debate, Darren. It's something that the media really doesn't cover well at all. Tell me about these bills, and I know there's another bill where 700 medical professionals are urging MPs to actually lower the abortion time limit from 24 weeks to 22 weeks. Tell me about this debate, because this polling in the US, it's consistent with the polling in the UK, which shows 70% of British women favour this reduction from 24 to 22 weeks. So it shows that there is a very large group, I would argue the majority, who are pro-choice in the first trimester, certainly, but when it gets later in the pregnancy, they're very much against late-term abortions, and that includes in the second trimester.
Very well said, Rita. That piece by Nadine Dorries I found profoundly moving, actually. And this is all a hangover from the COVID pandemic, where MPs, I would argue really quite extreme MPs when it comes to this debate, the abortion debate, they got what they wanted with at-home abortions, and now it's a legacy from lockdown, but we've extended it, where you pop a pill and terminate your pregnancy. These are Labour Party MPs, Stella Creasy and Diana Johnson. They've actually pulled the pin, I would argue, on the grenade of medical ethics with amendments that actually seek to transform abortion into an over-the-counter commodity up to birth. Forget the 24-week safeguard. They say it's outdated. The need for a doctor to consult with you, because this is, as you well know, Rita, quite a dangerous thing to do. Well, they say that that's an archaic formality, right? But I would worry, I argue that actually this would be like opening Pandora's box. This push for decriminalisation actually glosses over the complexities and the nuances that you mentioned so well there. The narrative it being spun is one of empowerment of women. But actually, I would argue that that dodges the bullet of consequence. It dodges the bullet of accountability. It dodges the bullet of safeguarding. All of those faster than a politician might well sidestep a direct question from you, Rita, on here on Sky News Australia. But the underlying melody of this movement that these MPs are part of, it actually sings of a really stark truth, which is the desire to redefine the sanctity of life as I see it until it's as disposable as the morning's coffee cup. And I think that's where public polling is. Public polling says, I'm pro-choice, but I am not pro these terminations at home via popping a pill, which could be dangerous for the mother, which are certainly obviously dangerous for the unborn, and really rule out the need for a healthcare professional to be on board with that. So I would argue there is a need for caution, for actual ethical consideration here, because convenience is one thing, but we can't sweep it under the rug like an inconvenient truth, right? This is a tale of two pandemics, one viral, and the other ideological. And I really, really do not want to see British women get caught up in that ideological battleground in the name of freedom, because I don't think it is a freedom, Rita. I actually think it's incredibly negligent and dangerous.
It absolutely is, and I would argue immoral. And I think, again, that
Yeah.
opinion is shared, according to those polls, by the great majority that there has to be a term limit. Now, whether that line is 24 weeks, 22 weeks, many European countries, that line is between 12 and 15 weeks.
Yeah.
Wherever you determine that line, to have abortion right up to birth, I mean, really, any woman who's gone through a pregnancy and has undergone ultrasounds where they've seen their baby at 16 weeks, 18 weeks, 22 weeks, they could tell you it's not just a clump of cells at that stage. Darren Grimes, thank you so much for your time this evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rita.